7 p.m. And I will start with attendance as soon as John is back.
John Brunel, member.
Laura Gandia, member.
Jerry Sorensen, member.
Jeff Blackwell, building inspector.
All right, all other members are absent, and the first order of business is going to be case number 116-2023-1, a special exception from LZO 1200 for the temporary wetland impact for equipment, access and replacement of 7 utility structures within the Wetland Conservation District along the H123 transmission line at map 9, lots 41, 65, 88, and map 13, lots 2, 6, 8, 2, 14, 15, 17, 21, and 49. The name of the applicant is GZA Environmental for Eversource Energy. The owner of the property is Public Service Company of New Hampshire, doing business as Eversource Energy. And who will be presenting tonight? And before we begin, here where we only have 3 members, you are entitled to ask for a continuance for 5. If you proceed with 3, you need to have all 3 of us vote in the affirmative to grant your request. Would you like to proceed with 3?
Yes.
Thank you.
So while Lindsay's handing those out, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Fennell, licensing and permitting for Eversource. And this is Lindsay White. She's with GZA Geoenvironmental. She prepared this very thorough, hopefully satisfactory application.
Thank you.
See, introduced you.
What's up first? Thank you for having us this evening. As you mentioned, we are here for a special exception application for proposed impacts within the town's wetland conservation district. And it's associated with upcoming utility pole maintenance work proposed by Eversource. So Eversource is looking to replace, as mentioned, 7 existing utility poles along the H123 transmission line. This transmission line is located in portions of both Merrimack and Litchfield and is about 3.5 miles in length. And these select poles were identified during routine line inspections as needing to be replaced in order to maintain the safety and reliability of the transmission line. There are 2 poles that will be replaced off of Charles Bancroft Highway, 2 off of Pinecrest Road, and 3 off of Brickyard Drive. In addition, once pole replacements are completed, Eversource will be replacing what's now there is existing static wire with optical ground wire, or OPGW. The purpose of this line is to protect the conductor lines beneath it during storm events. So it's not the transmission line itself, it's just they lie above the main line. The time frame for the work is proposed to begin in late March 2023 and extend to late June 2023. And the proposed work does require temporary wetland impacts in order to access each of the poles being replaced and to construct a temporary work pad around each of the poles. This temporary access is constructed using timber matting, which are about 4 foot by 16 foot wide mats that are made of timber and wood, and they'll be placed to increase the surface area to allow for vehicle access and limit and prevent rutting and compaction to the wetlands. And once the work is complete, the timber matting is removed and the temporary wetland impacts are restored and monitored for restoration growth. There will be a environmental monitor that inspects the line routinely and will follow the project through to the end and will monitor the vegetation for restoration once work is complete. That's kind of the overview. We're happy to answer questions or.
Does the board have any questions before we get into the meat of the application?
At this time, no.
Is this a continuation of the work that was already done, that we varianted earlier this year?
Yeah, we're working on multiple circuits in the area, so we have worked on this line.
In 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, there was a more recent one, right? That went
Yeah,
across
that
right
was
away
like
to
I thought,
Piscataway?
yeah, there was
November we had.
We've had 2 or 3 this year.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's different.
different lines through the town.
Yeah.
Do you mind going through the criteria for the special exception, please?
The first question that we addressed was the proposed use, construction, and/or alteration shall be constructed in such a way that does not unduly restrict the flow of water. As I mentioned, we'd be using temporary timber matting, just for the duration of construction of the project. The poles themselves are being replaced within about, 10 feet of what the existing poles are, where the existing poles are located, and they're staying in the same alignment. Once the timber matting's removed, we would anticipate vegetation going back, to the way it was originally, and so there's no proposed long-term impacts to the flow of water. Second question, it can be shown that the proposed use is not in conflict with any and all the purposes and intentions listed in section 100.01 of this ordinance. This is an existing line with an existing utility line right-of-way, just proposing to replace what's already there. And again, the poles will be replaced within proximity, with some differences in height. Since these poles are going from wooden to steel poles, they will be about 5 to 10 feet higher on average to meet the updated National Electric Safety Code standards. Next was the use or activity proposed and its attendant impacts cannot reasonably be avoided. We're using access within the existing right-of-way, and utilizing what's previously been used for access as much as possible. And we are, I believe, outreach for the project is working with underlying property owners to potentially use off right-of-way access to limit and prevent impacts as much as possible. But at this time, we've scoped for all in right-of-way access. The least damaging route and methodology have been selected, and that which is being proposed is the best practicable alternative available. We are using existing access as much as possible, what we have scoped in the past and used, to limit new impacts to new access road areas. The work will be conducted in accordance with the March 2019 Best Management Practices Manual for Utility Maintenance in and adjacent to wetlands and water bodies in New Hampshire. And that's a document that's been released from New Hampshire DES. And so the use of timber matting, straw wattle, all are consistent with the Best Management Practices Manual that we would be implementing. Next was no significant impact on the aquatic habitat of rare or endangered species as listed by the state of New Hampshire or federal government will result. We have been working with the New Hampshire Natural Heritage Bureau and New Hampshire Fish and Game, which identifies the previously documented presence of rare, threatened, and endangered species. So we are currently working with them in order to be approved through the state of New Hampshire for a wetlands permit. We do have to have coordination completed with New Hampshire Fish and Game, so we are working through that process right now. And we'll work with Fish and Game to implement any best management practices that they request for the protection of endangered species. Next was aquatic erosion sedimentation control methods appropriate to the use are incorporated as detailed by the current recognized BMPs. Example, Stormwater Management Erosion Sediment Control Handbook for Urban Developing Areas, NHDES, and Soil Conservation Service. As I mentioned, we would be doing our work in accordance with the DES manual that's been written for best management practices for the utility maintenance in and adjacent to wetlands and water bodies. This is used circuit-wide through Eversource for all of their utility maintenance projects. Again, implementing timber matting as a best management practice, as well as silt fence, straw wattle, and having an environmental monitor on site during construction to do inspections and report back anything that needs to be addressed. The last one is state wetland permits as required are obtained. Eversource will be pursuing a statutory permit by notification for temporary wetland impacts. As I mentioned, we have to wait for coordination to be completed with New Hampshire Fish and Game, so once that is wrapped up, we would be submitting to the state for our wetlands permit. I think that's all of them.
Does the board have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
We've seen the process. I think the process is well documented. I think the care and but where I've seen some of the actual activities fall short is things go quicker, and I'm curious to know what your kind of quality control is when you're talking about removing snakes and turtles or doing this and making sure someone's on site. I mean, is there a little more detail on exactly that person on site that's monitoring the environmental impact, or?
So it would be, so GZA is brought on this project, as qualified, we have qualified biologists on our team, that work and are approved by New Hampshire Fish and Game to be on site for, review for rare, threatened, endangered species, to be able to relocate them or have the appropriate contacts, if those are documented. And those do get documented as well. Any observations are documented and sent to Natural Heritage Bureau and Fish and Game so that it updates the database that they have. As far as the construction inspections, our crew is also the people that go and do the inspections. They've had to take a training certification course. I believe it's through EPA to be qualified inspectors on site, or they have a certification such as a CESWI or CPESC, which is, I can't remember what the organization it's through, but they're certified environmental sediment, stormwater control certified. One of those combinations.
So it sounds to me, and I don't disagree, it sounds to me like there's very qualified folks, but when that matting goes down, are they required to be there, or is this, I'm trying to figure out,
Yeah, for
that's
select,
the critical nature, when you affect it, is, is there some sort of checks and balances to make sure that that's done properly?
yeah, so Fish and Game has our plans and the wetlands that we're impacting. There are occasions where they do require the wildlife biologists to be on site during matting placement.
So you're following the Fish and Game requirements for, I just need more, I mean, there's a lot of qualified people, and a lot of folks there, but who's actually on site when the matting goes down and the actual impact is made?
When it's required by Fish and Game, yes, GZA would be on site watching that. And they're the ones that, when they have that requirement, Fish and Game requests the biologist's resume, experience and all that to be approved.
I think I'm just trying to track quality control, how this, it all looks good on paper, but when you get out on the field, things get different. I just feel like I needed more information about, hey, I got the process, but how do we make sure that's actually what we do on site? So, thank you.
You're welcome.
John, do you have any questions?
Sounds very much like what we already approved back in November, the same considerations. I think Jared, you brought up the same kind of question around the quality control, at least who's watching and making sure they're hearing. So I'm fine with it so far.
I do have a couple of questions. In your packet material, you did say that when you're replacing the poles, could be 10 feet from the existing location. Why is that?
Typically, and Jeremy, you can jump in with this one, but I believe it's, because they're gonna put up the new pole first before they transfer the wires from the old poles onto the new ones and take those ones down.
Yeah, I mean, it gives, we have to have them spatially separated because, we can't take the old pole out and, because we need something to hold the line. And so we'll just put the new pole and old pole adjacent to each other, and because of their size, you need about 10 feet. I mean, it can go as close as 5 feet, but generally 5 to 10 feet spatially. So, and there could be unanticipated bedrock or something like that, so they may have to move it a couple feet. So,
Okay, thank you. And
Sure.
how wide is the right-of-way?
Right away width through here.
look at the map
Yeah,
here.
I was gonna say, I think sometimes we include that. Yeah.
That's
and
what I
then
was gonna say.
150 feet.
about that for the first
Okay.
couple pages. It might be larger as it gets further down the right of way.
And the access points, where are those going to be again?
So we have off of Charles Bancroft Highway, Pinecrest, Pinecrest Road and Brickyard Drive.
So Pinecrest and Brickyard is one access point, and is there another?
So we have the one coming off Charles Bancroft, and that's shown on page 1 of 5.
Okay.
And then on page 4, we have coming off Pinecrest Road. And it stops, between poles 189 and 190, and then we come in off Brickyard Drive for the remaining.
And as far, going back to your right-of-way question, this last piece, that's probably more than 150, because it's shared with some other lines. You see the, because the 2 yellow lines on the mapping, that's the width of the right-of-way. Just give you a little bit more context. So it's kind of varying in width, but it's about
Okay.
150.
And I know you referenced endangered species, the snakes and the turtles, so those the two?
The typical,
Okay. Yep. And the March 2019 manual, I'm assuming that's the most recent.
yes.
Any other questions from the board? No. I do have 2 letters that I want to read into the record. As part of the special exception, the application goes to the health officer, the Conservation Commission, and the Planning Board. I do have a letter dated January 12th, the health officer review, directed to the zoning board, from Jeffrey Blackwell, the health officer, and it reads as follows. Based on my review of the proposed project for the replacement of utility structures on the H123 transmission line along map 9 lots 41, 65, 88, and map 15 lots 2, 6, 6-2, 14-15, 17, 21, and 49 in Litchfield, I have no comment as the health officer at this time. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns you may have. Sincerely, Jeffrey Blackwell. The next letter is dated January 11th, addressed to the Litchfield Zoning Board of Adjustment, from Jason Brennan, Chairman of the Litchfield Conservation Commission. It reads, the Litchfield Conservation Commission reviewed a wetland special exception request by Eversource Energy during our January 5th, 2023 meeting. The exemption is being requested to support a project that includes the replacement of 7 utility structures in existing static wire along a corridor beginning at the Hillcrest Road Route 3A intersection and ending in the vicinity of Brickyard Road at Cummings Drive. In total, the project requires approximately 81,513 square feet of temporary wetland impact and 48,458 square feet of temporary wetland buffer impact for equipment access and work pad placement. The Conservation Commission reviewed the project documents, wetland maps, and supplementary information and has no objections to the special exception request with the following conditions. 1, the Conservation Commission receive any report from or to New Hampshire Fish and Game regarding rare and endangered species. And 2, the Litchfield Building Inspector or his representative conduct a pre- and post-inspection of the area to ensure proper site restoration. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns. And did we receive anything back from the planning board?
No. I assume they sent it directly to you.
I did not.
I usually don't get them.
Okay.
I usually don't get the copies, but I was at the meeting.
Did they discuss it?
Yes, they did.
And-
So their one comment was basically to the extent of if it'd be possible to work weekends and whatnot in order to shorten the duration of the work.
So they want it, Eversource to work through the weekends to,
In essence, that was the comment, yes.
any other questions, concerns from the board?
No.
All right, so I'm gonna open it up for public input. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak about the application? Yep, I'm sorry, you're gonna need to come up here and you're gonna need to state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Linda Lascelles, and I live at 13 Brickyard Drive. As far as working weekends, that's not gonna work. That's a soccer field back there. And they are playing soccer, if not practicing, playing games, every night of the week in this time frame.
Right, and that wouldn't be a condition that the town would, I wouldn't recommend imposing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah, I
think we
don't-
could, right?
I don't think
No, we can't, yeah, so that's
Unless
not
we're
something.
paying overtime.
Well, how, yeah. So say that again, please.
That working weekends would not be an appropriate condition for this board to put as a condition of granting the special exception request.
Okay. How wide are the mats, do you know?
16-foot width.
Okay, Timmy, do you know how wide it is? The distance going back, the access, careful.
And just state your name and address for the record, please.
Timothy Kearns, 1 Brickyard Drive. I'm her neighbor. I've been down to the site. When they originally came in and replaced the poles in my backyard, I'd done a survey. I'd also have drone footage of the area and the wetlands impact. My concern, and same with hers, the access to, her lot is number 9, it's 915 or 941.
Okay.
That's the lot that we're talking about, that's the wetland impact. When you look and when they're talking about a 10-foot difference between the poles, that's gonna block the access to Brickyard Field. There's a 20-foot right-of-way to the left of her property, and that's the only way that public service can get in there, because there's a big, they can't drive up that banking. The banking is this thick, on the top is the poles, 5 feet away is the fence, and to the right-of-way. So I don't think she has enough land, that fence is gonna have to come down.
Yeah,
The road is gonna be blocked, and there's no other access to that field if that's the way they do
Okay,
it.
so, so what's the address of your property, ma'am?
13 Brickyard.
13 Brickyard, okay.
And that's, on the paper here, it's, lot 15, map 1541, I believe, and that's the wetland impact for that area.
Yeah, so you can't come down through the back of the
Yeah, if they're gonna
yards.
put mats, you don't have
And-
enough room in your backyard to put mats, so they're gonna have to take the fence out, and
Yeah,
it's a 20-foot
but
right
then
away.
that's gonna block, what I'm afraid of, you block that area and you've got kids running down there, you know, to go to the soccer field. And I don't know that the rec commission was
if they did-
involved in that and all.
They did the same thing at my house, they did at my house, the poles go up, and then they set their platforms up, that's 100 and, what's your operating platform for the cranes?
We
100 by 100, I believe?
That's what we scope it at. They don't always build it out to
So
that
let's look
size.
at the 20-foot right away, and you tell me where you're gonna put the 100 by 100 without being down the banking. That's no place you can do it. And then they dig, the culvert that they sink in is about 5 feet wide. Then they drill down 20 feet perhaps, a third of the pole. Then they come in, they set the poles inside this hollow 5-foot tube, and then they backfill it with gravel, and then it sinks, and they come back and they backfill it some more. And then they come in and do the cutover. But the process there is no, because of the way the bank is and the wetland impact, there's just no way to have 100 by 100 foot to do the cranes for that extended period of time. And that field is gonna be shut right down.
Jeff,
And
do
if
you-
all the,
So I don't know about the turtles, but the kids are gonna be pissed.
Well, that's gonna be done, when was the time frame? March to June
Right.
for that.
and the fence coming down will have to be on both sides, both neighbors.
It's a
There's-
20-foot right away
Yeah.
on the line. There is
Yeah.
not a foot on either side.
Jeff,
So-
do we know if the soccer, not soccer, but was the rec commission notified as a butter? Because, I mean, they're the ones that manage that property, but were they notified? Are they aware of the potential
I don't
schedule
know,
impact?
because part of this is, which ones we're here because of the impact to the wetlands.
Right.
So not all 7 poles are in the wetlands, with wetlands impacts, so.
Brickyard is, right? 'Cause
But-
This lot number is specifically listed as an impact.
Right.
And that impact causes the problem to obscure or block the access to the field.
John, can you pull that up for us to see that property by any chance? Do you
I
have
have
it?
that picture.
It's in there, John.
Is it?
It's in, yeah, further through well, I have the pictures separate, so if you find the maps.
Oh, location maps is in there? Okay, these.
Yeah.
Here's the
You just
overall.
keep scrolling, you'll be able to get to,
It's
keep going,
in lot 41 on map.
keep going, you'll get,
This is.
next one.
That's I keep going.
This is it right here, right? That one right there?
It's on that page, lot 41. Oh, with 190.
So,
Keep going
where's
down.
190?
There we go. Yeah, so if you scroll up a little bit more. See, this is, other way, sorry. Yeah, so,
Right here, right?
so,
Running
this is the lot right here, this is 941.
Where's north?
So,
Yeah, where's the north,
Where's
that's right.
To the right?
Brickyard's this way, so,
I think it's to the right.
yeah, it'd be up, right?
With the,
That way would be south, because it goes to the end, this way would be going to
The
the
north is
entrance.
pointing down on
so
that.
this here is the soccer field.
Right,
Right there's that's the entrance from
Right, so-
Brickyard.
there it is, I mean, that 100-foot square pad goes right through the middle of that 20-foot access, if I can point it. This is the 20-foot access, and there's a soccer field, and there's this, and here's the thing, you see that gradient there? And there's the pole. Where are they gonna put the pole? 10 feet away is right in the middle of that, right away. Cause you can say, I don't think they can go into that gradient, and that's, if they're gonna go into that gradient, then you're gonna have a sufficient, wetland impact, because that stream goes right up against that and it changes.
So the soccer field's toward the top of that.
Correct.
ridge, Right, and that's just a walkthrough to get down to the soccer field.
Right.
Okay,
Well, it's a
now,
it's the only access, so if
Yeah.
somebody gets hurt, that's how the ambulance has to
Yep.
get down there.
yeah.
So and this isn't wetland related, but, you know, we're talking, you know, just about the whole process. So there is fencing on both sides, and again, our outreach has reached out to the landowner to request this access, but if we can't have that access, we'll come.
I'm right here,
That would be her?
and I don't know anyone that's reached out to me, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
I was outside one day and somebody came up the driveway and said, did you know that there's a pole going in? And I made a comment about it being friggin' ugly, and she walked away, so that was the
Did you
extent.
get a notice for this meeting?
Yes, I did get a notice for this meeting.
Okay, so, if we can't get the access through your property, then we would come down the right of way like we described, and there is fencing on both sides because of the pathway that's kind of shown here. Typically our matting, we would make sort of, a ramp up on both sides, so there wouldn't really be a safety issue on the off-work times. I mean, this is all gonna be upland matting to minimize the, impact to the, manicured lawns. So I think there should be, egress, over the matting. As far as this pole, you're correct, it is very near the slope. We wouldn't put the new pole in the middle of the pathway. We would probably put this one as close as possible to the existing, so it may be within 5 feet, but you are correct, it is on a slope, so we just have to, use as good, erosion
have 5
control as
feet?
possible.
Between the pole and your fence? I think you can touch it.
Yeah.
If I can touch the pole, I can
Yeah.
touch the fence.
So,
With that idea, though, I'd be more concerned about you guys, if they're gonna bring,
Oh, yeah, they'd have to take a whole bunch of fences to go down the power lines.
so ma'am, is the,
your fence and, go on, come down
but are the
the
fences in
side
the
of
right
the,
of way?
What's that?
Are the
Yes.
fences
soccer
in
field.
the right of way?
Yes.
Yes, the
Yeah,
fencing
that's-
is in the right of way. and
Those
it-
yellow lines are,
That's the risk of putting it in the right of way, it has to come down.
It's gonna have to fences are gonna have to temporarily come down either way, from my
Yeah.
understanding.
And
no
Eversource
matter-
will restore them back to what they
Yes,
were.
of
Yeah,
course.
okay, so they're in the right of way, so unfortunately, they have to come down, that's what the right of way is for. But the owner and Eversource will work together to put it back the way it's supposed to be.
And that applies to all the buildings, too? Any buildings are there and they have to come down?
If you built the building in the right of way, I don't know.
but building shouldn't be built.
Buildings should not be in the right
should
of
not be
way.
in the right of way.
They're on the tax map, though.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
I
that
got
does-
it.
Yeah.
If you've been listening, Tim,
They're in the blue box.
if you've been
I'm
listening to
just
some of
saying.
these meetings of lately, you'll notice we see that a lot happen. It's like,
No.
not supposed to be there.
So, ma'am, excuse me, ma'am? So you own the property, right? So the pole is actually, existing pole is on your property?
It is,
It's on your property?
It is.
Okay.
Well, it's in the right of way on our property,
no,
Well, it's on her
It's on my
property.
property.
But they have a right of way, but it's still her property.
but there's a
Yeah,
right
I
of way.
thought that
They have an
I thought it was funny that the thing said that the public service owned all the property. But they have a right of way for it. In the first letter that you posted, they said they own the property.
Easement.
You have an easement.
Right,
Right.
it's an
I
easement.
understand there's a difference. You want my tax bill? Does any of this modification gonna change the property value? Cause the bigger poles and you're going, I know if I build a porch, it has to be the same size, but you're building bigger things here and they're bigger and uglier. And how does that work?
I can't comment on that because I'm not into appraising property.
So,
So, but I
but there is
appreciate
a
your question.
physical impact and there's physical change, right?
I would think, I would personally think the impact's the same. It's you're next to a power line, you're next to a power line, whether
It's
it's
a
new or
10-foot tall pole, and
But yeah,
it
Pretty
goes from a
ugly.
little wooden pole
I
now,
got
and
ya.
I got a 5-foot.
now it's more
5-foot
visible,
thing.
right? Yeah.
I get it, but it's certainly not a better view.
So how much stuff gets dug up? I mean, like, if you use the access way from Brickyard to down there, taking down the fences, is there anything that's replaced? There's, right around the pole, I can tell you, there's a lot of bittersweet, and there's a lot of weeds. Does that all come down and,
So what they did in my yard is they had to come in with a bulldozer because it has to be level. So they pushed all the property, they have a 100 by 100 pad, but they have to push the material to make it level and stable off of, out of the way. So they created a mound, then they came in with trucks and they put in gravel because you have to put a big crane, multiple cranes, multiple aerial devices have to be set up. And then they did all that, and then they come in and try and undo it. But, you know, you can imagine the bulldozer and all that other kind of dig up stuff. You're in a position where they can't go towards the gradient end, everything's gonna have to go towards the other end, because they're not, you don't wanna put them on your property off the thing, so the people to the south of that 20-foot access are gonna have to have material moved, I'm assuming.
I'm gonna let Lindsay respond to that question, please, if you wouldn't mind, or,
Jeremy?
Well, the plan here is to put down the upland matting. The area is fair, except for that slope. I mean, the area on this side, from what I can recollect going out there last time, is fairly flat. So I mean, that's the plan for the matting to reduce the impact on the lawns. So, I mean,
Just saying what they did in my yard, I had a flat area too, but the thing was with the crane, I guess, I suppose of driving over it, when they set the pads down, that's the stability thing.
Yeah, I mean, typically with the matting, we put that down, in lieu of putting down gravel.
so I have, shrubs and stuff that I've put in right at the corner of Brickyard and the access road. Those would be,
Like here,
yes,
down here. So that's not on a right of way, so
no, it would be on the right of way.
so this is our right of way here, in between the two yellow lines?
Yes, right on that corner.
Does that little dotted thing indicate a possible entrance?
Yes, that's the one that's requested.
So I think
This
that's
one.
what she's talking about, if I may, is you have a little thing that says you wanna enter there, which goes right across her stuff. I think that
Right,
might
so,
be the
so I
question.
guess the answer to your question, if we were coming off the right of way and there were shrubs that were there that you wanted to replace, I mean, that would all be part of,
They would be replaced? Is that what you just said? I'm sorry.
well, that would be part of the discussion
With whom?
with our outreach folks.
Okay.
But there's already 20-foot right of way going through there. Do you need her permission to use that 20-foot right of way?
Is that the town right away
That's
for the
town.
soccer field?
that's the town.
Yeah.
This town.
Yeah, I don't have anything there, but I have it adjacent to the line. And the
Yeah, so
fence is there.
That's kind of a go ahead.
But this is, potential access.
Right, we don't have
The
access.
yellow dashed line
That's what we,
is currently the planned
Oh,
route.
really?
I believe you said
So-
the blue one on the top is the plan, the yellow lines. are-
Well, yeah, blue,
Yellow
it's
lines
Yellow
are boundaries.
dashes, yellow dashes.
yeah, the yellow dashes, whatever, so,
Of course it
Yeah, so that is the, on paper, plan.
Scoot next to you. We'll share.
Just state your name and address.
I'm Michelle Johnson from 15 Brickyard.
Okay, are you the other property?
I'm the
owner?
other half.
Okay.
So the last time we had Eversource at our property taking down trees, the fulfillment center promised they'd come back, remove the stumps, fix everything. They never came back. And this was years ago, and I still hold a grudge against it. So if you're going to be taking down our fences, which are on your easement, I understand. I want it in writing or something that my fence will be put back. It will not be a piece of trash. I can't. That's our fence. That's a ton of money, a ton of hours we put into putting it there.
Yeah, and we have stockade fence on either side. And some of that is falling apart. There are sections that are just, you know, the kids go by and they hit it when they go by, and
Isn't that the town fence?
it is a town
So
fence.
the town fence
The
is the
rec-
one that's,
the
so
rec
it's not your
committee
fence,
owns it.
really, it's the rec committee's
Yeah.
fence that's being dismantled.
I would just like it addressed.
And this is the town's fence, so this is the place for the town.
So, Tim, you experienced this already on your
Yes,
property.
yes, I did.
And was the property restored to your satisfaction by Eversource?
I had no choice. They came in, they cut the trees down, and I had no choice. So
The
what I
trees,
had
I
'em-
see, yeah.
what I had them do is leave it the way I can make it most useful.
Okay.
And when you see it, that's the way you see it. There's no grass in the backyard, it's the pad. What's there is what they left me. I bermed up on both sides, the far side and on the far side of my own expense. And that's it. But I will tell you that those poles are significantly different and larger and
Yep.
uglier than the wooden ones. And her property is so tight, what they did in my yard, I can't see them, how they could do it there. Really.
Okay.
You're welcome to come take a walk through if you'd like.
I spent a lot of time down at soccer field. I think I know.
Okay.
I think I know the pole you're talking about too. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, yeah. I just don't know what we can do to make sure Eversource restores. I mean, that's the outreach program that's supposed to do that, and, I mean, is that even is it a legal consideration
I
on our
do think
side?
we have authority to,
Okay.
make sure that affected property owners' rights are addressed.
And so would our resource to do that would be the building department?
We can talk about conditions, that we can attach to that when we get done with
I was
public
just gonna say,
input.
the lot in question is on the table right now, so you guys have, I'm gonna say, I believe you have total control on setting conditions for at least her lot.
Oh, I know we do. Right.
I think we have, like you said, we can set conditions on the whole thing.
Right. No, we can, I mean, and we can, you
I
know.
just don't know how we, monitor that result.
Oh, I have ideas. But no, there's stuff that we can talk about. I just want to get through public input first. Do you have anything else you want the board to
Just
consider?
give me 1 second.
Sure, take your time.
I think that's it. I am just concerned about the width of the mats. There's no way that they could fit down that and restoration of any, you can take the old weeds, but you can leave me replace the shrubs.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Cookie Cisney. I'm at 21B Pinecrest Road. And no, they did not come in and restore what they did a couple years ago. They just left. And you keep calling and they go, oh, well, I'm working on a different project now, so I can't help you. Well, who can help me? I don't know who's there. And that went on for months and months and months. I even made trips to Eversource. And I went around their building. Oh, no, you can go down that hall. They'll help you. So it was a goat rope.
Right.
And, you know, they're just, the second thing is the soccer kids, they come in at 2:30, 3 o'clock every afternoon. My house is here, there's the creek, and there's the soccer field. They're there every day. So if you're saying, you know, Monday through Friday, it will still affect those children.
I believe the school actually uses it part of the program, because the kids walk down the road and
Yeah.
so that's the practice field.
That's why I asked if the rec commission was notified and if they were aware of it, because they're obviously gonna have to shift that traffic someplace else. I don't know if Sawmill probably could be used, but it's gotta get shifted.
And I'd like to have the POC from the Fish and Game.
You like to have that what?
The point-
POC, point of contact.
Oh, for the fishing game? Do you
Yeah.
have that, Lindsay?
I think it's in our,
I
might
think
have
I
it in
saw it
notes.
written down somewhere.
I don't know if I it might, I don't think I have it on hand at this moment for the select phone number.
You don't know who you've been talking to?
I just don't have her phone number.
Well,
It's Tim
who's-
Tuttle.
Tim?
We have Kim Tuttle and we have, who else is, Kat Wadiak.
And what office are they in Concord?
Yes.
Can you provide us with the phone number?
Yes.
So, I'll just speak, I mean, I wasn't on all of these projects, and obviously, you know, we knew that this is a very tight neighborhood in a lot, you know, holes in people's backyards, and, you know, our outreach folks need to have some conversations before March, so we will take that message. But generally, you know, there's certain things with our access roads and where we're not showing matting, where, you know, we need to maintain our, leave certain pieces like access roads for future maintenance, but, you know, as far as removing fences and shrubs and things like that, I mean, you know, if the plan is to replace it, so. I understand past frustrations, so.
Who is the POC for the outreach?
I think it'd be best if you just left me with your email and we'll get back to you.
Tomorrow? I want a time frame of when I'm gonna get this email.
Yeah, well, I'll give it to
I
you
mean,
tomorrow.
they said that they talked to Linda, and Linda says nobody talked to her.
There
So
was, there
you-
was a group walking around and there was one female and I heard the guy, maybe the manager say, you go talk to her, you know? So that was, because I was outside. That was it.
So, I can't make promises for other people. But if you leave me I understand you're frustrated, but if you leave
Well,
me your email, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
I'm just curious, is there any reason why you don't have a contact name handy for folks who have concerns?
Sure, I can.
I just think it leads to additional frustrations when they're
Sure.
asking for a contact
does.
name.
Yeah, I'd also suggest that if, it's gotten to a level of frustration that maybe someone should have came to the town and talked to the town office about it too, right? The building inspector, you know, or even the town administrator, reach out to their contacts. Cause obviously they made agreements to do certain things to get the various variances they've gotten already. If they're not living up to it, someone should be coming to the town, letting them know.
This is going back several years for you, ma'am,
That
correct?
Pinecrest definitely several years ago, but
Right.
still.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, you're frustrated and I can understand it, and
Well, it affected property value for all of us also, and there was no, they said, well, it is what it is, you know, and
That's not the answer you wanna hear.
no,
Oh, I understand. I think he's gonna have, hopefully, something for you.
sir.
But-
Sure. So, I believe this is the contact.
If you could just speak it into that in case there's
Yeah,
folks.
it's, Remy Schneider.
So that's Remy Schneider?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. SCHNEIDER.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you have a phone number for that person?
Yeah, not on me right now. I have his email contact, but I don't have his number right now.
Okay, what is his email?
It's remy.schneider@eversource.com.
So remy.schneider@eversource.com.
Yep. REMY.
REMY.
Yep. Schneider.
And if you wouldn't mind getting a phone number and passing that along to Mr. Blackwell as well?
So, the phone number of,
Mr. Schneider,
Oh.
Remy Schneider.
Well,
The-
that's the number I don't have right now.
No, I said, but when you get it, could you
Yeah, yeah,
pass it
yeah,
along
yeah.
to both the lady sitting at the table and for Mr. Blackwell in case other residents have concerns and they want a contact person? Anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns?
I just had two requests.
Yep, just come sit at the table and just state your name and address, please.
My name is John Noseworthy. I live at 15 Firefly. I was just curious if the town's conservation board is going to be looking
They
at
did,
these as well?
yep, they weighed in and I read a letter.
Okay, I
Yeah.
guess I missed that part.
Yep,
Just-
so they did, and they had two concerns that they wanted to be addressed, and that was, one, they want to receive any report from or to the New Hampshire Fish and Game regarding rare and endangered species. And the second one was they want the building inspector or his representative to conduct a pre- and post-inspection of the area to ensure proper site restoration. Those were the two comments by the Conservation Commission.
Okay, and lastly, could I just see the map for the entranceway off of Hillcrest?
Yep, that's gonna be John. I'll look to him.
You gotta find all these paperwork here. Chris.
I think the Hillcrest one was the last page.
Yeah, keep,
Last page?
Yeah. Should be coming off the other right of way.
Cummings Drive, Charles Bancroft, that's the last page.
I don't think we have
Sorry,
it coming
first-
off Hillcrest.
Or Charles Bancroft?
Charles
You said
Bancroft.
were coming in from the intersection of
Yeah.
Hillcrest and Charles.
Sorry, that is page one.
Oh, that's page one.
Almost. There it is.
yep,
Oh, okay.
coming right there, yep, so that's Hillcrest there.
And is that as far as it's going, just those two poles right,
No, it keeps going,
Oh, it-
page two. Yep,
all right, page 2?
it keeps going down. There's two replacement poles
So
further
that's,
down.
yeah, you can see,
Yes,
And then that,
okay.
and one more. And that's the end.
Okay, and that is still, are all three of these areas all estimated from March to June?
Yeah,
At
that's
the
the total,
simultaneously?
total time frame for replacement of these 7.
Okay, thank you.
Before, one more second, I just want to give somebody, if anybody else that hasn't had a chance to speak, that has any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, ma'am, come back. If you don't mind just coming back up and just state your name again, please.
Linda Lascelles, 13 Brickyard. My septic runs towards the fence, and it doesn't get too far away from the fence. So if the fences come down and cranes or whatever it is are running through there, I cannot lose my septic system.
Linda, is it the Litchfield part of the septic
Yes,
system?
it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Double check one more time. Anybody else in the public that want to speak? All right, seeing none. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
No.
I do. I do have actually, a little bit of concern and maybe frustration hearing just how some of the residents feel that the response has been for Eversource and the conditions of their property. That actually gives me a lot of concern. What can we expect Eversource to do to ensure that that's not going to happen?
I mean, again, if there things like fences and, you know, the conditions, the pre-existing conditions of the lawns and things like that, especially you know, fences, I mean, we'll replace those to the pre-existing condition. And, you know, as we've shown the upland matting, we've put that in to minimize impact as much as possible. I mean, there will be, you know, some digging that needs to happen to put the new poles in, but, you know, we'll try to minimize the work pads as much as possible and, you know, recontour, you know, reseed if needed. And, you know, obviously work with, you know, the neighbors and the soccer fields as much as possible to, you know, get through there easily and get out of there. So, and we have GZA is doing the monitoring, for the wildlife and erosion control, you know, to minimize erosion, so.
I mean, going on with you, that's the same concern I would have, but I was gonna have it more of a part of a conversation, but I think we need to, as part of the requirement, Eversource needs to give us a contact from a town level that we can have, raise these issues to, and it will be responsive. Whether it's our town administrator calling or the building inspector calling, but if a resident is not getting satisfaction from their phone calls and their interactions, they need to come back here because we're the ones that are authorizing them to do what they gotta do. And we need to help these folks get things to be restored back to what's, you know, what's reasonable.
Right, because I think if we were to grant this, obviously I think we would grant it with significant conditions to address some of these concerns. And if they weren't meeting the conditions, if they wouldn't come back to us, that would become an enforcement issue that Mr. Blackwell would then in turn have to ensure it's done.
But I'm thinking of residents who are frustrated, making phone calls.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
building department's already or could be overwhelmed from that perspective as it is. But ultimately, the town, the board of selectmen, the town administrator needs to have a place, a contact where we can actually bring these issues forward. So,
Yeah, so we have our outreach group that'll work with this specific project, and then we have community relations that for the town that works with Litchfield for, you know, storms and just in general, and we can also talk to that person and let them know that there's a little bit of displeasure with some of our past work in this area. So
yeah, it's Doug, no. We do get a lot of notifications from, so yeah, okay. Same person then.
And I have a thought, and Jeff, maybe you can give some guidance, just because I am hearing the residents' concerns loud and clear, and I am feeling their frustrations based on previous past projects from Eversource. What about requiring them to have some type of restoration bond with the town to ensure that some of this stuff is taken care of? Because what I don't want to see happen is, you know, we had the two people, you know, that spoke who are right by the soccer field with fences and issues like that. If their property isn't properly restored, you know, they can go to you, but then you go to, there's no teeth there. So I'm thinking of, given past concerns that have been addressed, and especially the area with the soccer field, I'm thinking some type of restoration bond might be a condition.
Can we make a request for a restoration bond? I thought only the planning board can do that.
Let's see why we can't. That's what I'm asking.
You can only say no.
I don't have an issue with making that a requirement, and I think it's based on concerns that we're hearing. You know, past practice of, you know, Eversource or whoever is engaging in work in the town, that things are not being done properly, they're not being restored properly. I think that's a condition, unless somebody tells me a reason why we can't. I'm inclined to put that out there for the board's consideration.
I've never heard it done before, that's why I was curious. If we can do it, I guess it would make sense.
Well, I think, I don't see how else I feel like I can help residents in town who have experienced significant frustrations, lack of response, and other things in the past couple of years.
Oh, I'm looking up the RSA right now.
Okay. Do you have any insight into that?
I'll facilitate it.
Okay. I'm gonna close the public input for us to go into deliberations if anybody doesn't have anything else of the applicant. We'll close public input and we will go into deliberations. So, again, as I said, I do have, concerns with, restoration not being completed in a manner that the town is expecting it to be done. I do have concerns about the, timing of any work to be done and the effect it's gonna have on the soccer schedule for the kids. And I know we could potentially limit the access. I know that's a proposed access that they're asking to come off of Brickyard into the back. We can also have as a condition that that would not be something that we would recommend. They can have their access through the existing right-of-way and not go in off of Brickyard. And obviously, the concerns for the Conservation Commission, I would think would need to be part of, any conditions if we grant this request for a special exception.
So you're suggesting they don't use the town right away and soccer field?
I'm putting that for thought, I mean,
I think that makes sense. I think it's too small as it is coming
Right.
through there, so it probably makes sense to go the long way back in, but.
yeah, to go through the back. What about, letting the rec committee weigh in before we grant it? We could always continue it and get input from the rec committee before we move forward. I just feel like, from
Well,
March to
it's
June. is
March,
the-
right, so you have next month, you could take it up as the final decision.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that might be something, and then that can give, us time to look into the restoration bond, if that's something that we can do.
Yeah, I think there's too many questions to resolve at this point. The one comment, though, I mean, obviously, yeah, the conditions that we place, but what we're looking at is a variance to work inside the, I'm a little bit uncomfortable getting into making the variance part of the performance plan of the, we're supposed to, what I'm just thinking out loud is,
Absolutely.
it's work, it's completed inside the easements, and the easements are for that. So the actual variance has, but the actual execution of the work is where all the issues are coming from.
That's a good point. We're
So,
only supposed to take up the special exception, which is the wetland issue. I would have thought the planning board would weigh in maybe on something like that.
So-
or-
Well, that could get the planning, if we continue, get the planning board time
so,
to weigh in on
so
it as well.
my most of the complaints were like, hey, you gotta do the work, and things get closed all the time.
Yeah.
For, roads get closed, roads get altered. It's gonna stink, they'll lose the soccer fields but work within the easements, all the stuff meets all the criteria. The problem is the work as it's described here on these pages, isn't actually what's happening out there. So the actual request for an easement to work within for a variance to work within the easement is pretty clear cut, pretty straightforward. But the actual execution, I think, is where the issues come from. So, I don't have a problem with granting inside an easement. If this was like, hey, we're gonna go outside the easement here, and we gotta do this. I mean, there's a certain level of responsibility that has to be done, but it's clear cut. If you're in the easement, yeah, you should, first of all, when was the easement established? So, if you're building within the easement, I guess there's a level of risk, but that doesn't mean you're basically put out to dry in this. So I'm just trying to figure out, are we determining whether there's a variance to work inside the wetland area, or are we working on a variance with conditions to make sure you don't do bad things anymore?
Yeah, I feel like we've overstepped what the case is in front of us a little bit, but there's a bunch of issues that get raised and concerns that opens us, maybe we take an extra month to deal with it.
No, that's.
Either get the planning board the right way in on their concerns if they were concerns, make sure the rec commission knows what their impacts are, because they will be impacted, obviously. And then if we really can truly do a restoration bond, or if somebody else has to do it, on our behalf, then that gives us time to deal with that. It's not gonna delay their project. I'm sure they'll get their variance by that time, but. I mean, what bothers me more is some of the feedback I heard about past experiences. You know, big electric company, that's how Eversource is shined upon around here, taking advantage of everybody, so I think we need to either get some kind of, make sure this community outreach is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and not confronting residents on a whim, and just, they should be reaching out, letters, phone calls, and if that's not occurring, then they're not doing their outreach. So, it has to go back, I mean, I hope they are, it's just, day and age, people get missing phone calls, and that's what's wrong, but if it's not happening, it needs to get resolved. And I think the town has to have whether it's the same community outreach people, whatever that is, but there has to be some teeth where we can call and say, resident A is having a challenge, I need someone there tomorrow to go resolve this, and you need to tell the town what you're gonna do to resolve it, because people are just gonna continue to get upset. To your point, Jerry, they bought a home against the power line. There is an expectation that power line's not going anywhere, and whatever the impact of their value is, the impact of their value, understood. But they need to also make sure that their property's being treated well, which we gotta make sure that happens.
I agree, and what I'm trying to do is, I'll find it here in a second.
Was in the letter?
No, it's in the actual application. It was where we're talking about causing damage to value of homes. And remember, I think we discussed that before, we can make an evaluation based on experiences.
But I think you're confusing the variance criteria with a special exception
Yeah,
request.
this is a special exception criteria.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah, so you are right, usually it's, the values of surrounding properties
Okay,
will not be
all right.
diminished, but that's the variance. This
All
is a
right.
special exception, so there's different criteria for
I'm
this
just,
one.
I'm just looking for a cleaner way to tie in the complaints into a special exception request. It seems like it's an important topic,
Oh, yeah.
but, I don't wanna necessarily generate anything, but I think we need more information at this point to make it, I'm concerned about the liability of the board if we're disapproving things that, if it met all the criteria except for the fact that they didn't execute properly in the past.
I would say that based on what they presented and based on what we approved in the past, this exception would go through. If it wasn't for the residents that came up and raised their
Right,
concerns.
right, this is a good
We
point.
didn't have that the last time we did. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
spoke in opposition or even shared their experience. I think we owe it to the residents to at least make sure the town bodies.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, I just wanna make sure that
I'm
we're
okay
ma-
with delaying a month and
Okay,
taking it up
yeah.
next month and,
I think there needs to be, we need to make sure that as we process this, all this information through the additional information, that it's done properly. And we don't do something that, like ask for a bond or something like that. I think based on the information we have, there's gonna need to be some research time.
yeah, and Laura, I would think that the chair should be sending a memo, for lack of a better term, to the Board of Selectmen, or to the town administrator, Board of Selectmen, to the building department, asking that, hey, we heard all this outreach issue. We gotta
Absolutely.
raise that issue, how do we move forward? What are our options? Maybe we have to have legal come in about this bond, whether we can
Right.
do that or not.
Yep.
And, basically get the planning board to respond correctly and timely, and, and make sure the rec commission has at least a time to at least weigh in as far as, or at least understand the impact. They may be nothing they can do, cause work has to get done. We all want electricity in our neighborhood, so we have to work has to get done, so, but they need to be aware of it, and maybe they are, and they just chose to deal with it, and they chose not to tell us, but we should at least get them to acknowledge it.
I agree.
But we should start by, a board from, a letter from the board, from this ZBA to the board, and EA and the board, and acknowledging that we've heard these kind of complaints, and it sounds like it's been ongoing for a while. What can we do as a town to make sure it doesn't go forward before we approve this?
All right, so with that,
I'm very comfortable with that, yeah. I think that's the right wording.
Yeah.
so I'm gonna make a motion, I don't know what date it is, make a motion to continue, application, what's the application
01162023-1.
one to the February, anybody know the date off the top of their head?
It's February. Second Monday, right?
20th.
Third, February 20th?
Yep.
To the February 20th, 2023 to.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not,
13th, right? Is it gonna be, no, it'll be the 20th, you're right.
The third Monday, is that,
right, which would be
20th.
20th, President's Day.
are we open on that date?
Nope.
So then, when is our next meeting scheduled for then?
It'd be that March,
Well, can we
whatever.
just book a meeting in February?
do
and
it.
just
We
announce it?
can, yeah, we can,
Can we go back to our normal date on the Wednesday, the 22nd?
that's the third,
It's the 3rd.
third Wednesday I'm not available.
What Wednesdays are you available?
First, second, and third I am not.
First, second, and third.
What about that Tuesday, the 21st?
21st.
Is that room available?
This room's not available, but we could do it over at the fire station.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right.
Does that work for you, Jeff? Do it on the 21st?
21st, you say?
21st
Yeah,
of February.
Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll just do it over the fire station and record it there.
So I'm gonna make that motion to continue this application to Tuesday, February 21st at 7 PM at the Litchfield Fire Station to address concerns, with the rec committee, restoration issues and potential of imposing a bond.
And I would like to have some of these unknowns, the homework, while we're doing our homework, I would expect you guys to be doing your homework. You know what type of information that we need when we come back in February to have all that readily available.
Understood.
Okay, so that's my motion.
And I second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, so it's continued to February 21st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, February, I updated the calendar already and moved it to the other room.
And so everybody that's here for this, you will not get another notice, so February 21st.
Right.
Okay, so you will not receive another notice, so February 21st at 7 PM.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
We'll be in touch.
Have a good night, guys.
I'll be in touch.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
I live at 10 Rocky Hill. I was just wondering why I got the notice. It's right off Albuquerque. It's not showing anything to do with me, so I was just wondering.
It could have been just where the easement connected to one of me, I mean, I didn't do the abutter list, so,
Yeah, it's,
I mean, it's basically,
I don't know why you,
I'm literally
Oh,
right
well-
behind you guys.
oh, yeah, it does, the way the properties
Right.
abut. You're on there, it's just because of the way the properties abut. So some of them, there's several hundred feet on one side of the easement, but it extends all the way towards there, and you're just gonna be you're just gonna be touching along that property. Yeah, so it's, yeah, we went through it all in great detail. 3 times.
Alright.
So, yes, so
Awesome.
that's why.
Good to know.
thanks. All right, next on the agenda is communications and miscellaneous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Communications, no way. Can we talk about miscellaneous stuff we don't have any communications?
Yeah, we can- yeah, whatever.
So I just wanted to, and Jerry, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but, so we have a portal, obviously we use it, I think you probably use it.
Yeah, I go on the portal, I review the
So a
drawings and
couple-
everything.
Just a couple of things, we've had some, obviously we're having struggles with minutes in the past. This dates back well before our current minute taker, our previous minute taker, and even the one before that, so we've always had challenges. All the minutes now are linked on the portal on the front page, if you look on the screen there, right on there, you'll see, a link. These are all the minutes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, so they're all there now. There's still some holes. We're trying to find them in past details and stuff like that. The formats are very different from our current minute taker or our previous minute taker and the 1 minutes before then. We've went, obviously this committee or this board has moved from secretary doing it and other people doing it, so it's gotten more official, but over time it has. So we're, between Jeff, myself, and a bunch of other folks, we're trying to piece all the past minutes back together.
Thanks for
So
doing
just
that.
as a reference, they're there. If you go to the public website, the actual town website, which is not this, in the ZBA page, it also has a link similar to this that allows the public to view it also. Simple, easilier, I guess, if that's even a word. Just quickly show you. So in the town, under the town departments where the ZBA's page goes, I can move that tomorrow, thank God. Oop. This mouse is driving me absolutely bonkers today. There is a, if you saw it, there's actually a link to our portal. That portal is public when it's published. So all the content that we see that's not restricted is visible by folks who are listening from at home. They can follow along, see the applications and all the details that we're seeing. But anyway, going back here, we've now done that too. We've streamlined the same kind of look and feel. If you go to 2022, which is our previous year, you'll see all the previews of all the documents there. Okay. And as I said, we're going back into history and trying to get everything back into viewable order again. And that brings up the topic of, in the past, this board has had a history of not wanting to publish it until it's the draft until it's been approved because of public can see it. It's sort of a quasi-legal document. We said these things, didn't say these things, whatever. But obviously, times are changing, and we need to get this stuff out there on a more frequent basis. We have 5 days to get it out, at least the public viewing. It can be in draft. What Matt and I have done, which is Matt Sullivan, who is our minute taker, and he's doing all the other boards.
Hey,
that
Matt.
he's been doing
Nice to meet you.
He's been doing the other boards and committees for the last year, almost 2 years now, right?
Few years.
Yeah. So you came, I think you started during COVID, so, and you were doing via WebEx and all that stuff, so that's how he got introduced to everybody. But anyway, we have a system now that, when he creates them, they stay watermarked as draft, that's how they get published, and they'll have the word draft on every page, and until we approve them, the draft stays, right? And it's up to the chair, yourself, or any other committee to let Matt know they were approved, if he wasn't actively listening to the meeting at that time, and he's not doing it, but normally he is, and he'll probably remove it as soon as he hears it. Like I said, we just wanna make sure that we go back in some time, we have to take some time and go back through all those minutes and figure out what we can approve, what we can't approve, or we declare bankruptcy, and, this is the stated record, it's been out there long enough, people see it, we can't go back and change it now, it's been a year, right?
And then just draw the line in from here on
Yes.
forward, right? Okay.
Yeah, my suggestion would be is there's an, on the agenda is a minutes review, and we take it up as an action, and prior to the meeting, that link will be on the portal, you can go to the portal, read the previous minutes, and come in with your comments and make your changes. It's also fair to just send an email to the ZBA disputation going, I have a change, Matt's on that disputation also, he'll see the change and make that change for you as you walk through before we go and approve it. So the one doing the reading, it's as accurate as we think we are as members.
So just to stop, so I know when Michelle would do them, I would just kind of go in on Google Docs and make changes to the minutes. Is that not how minutes are gonna be changed
So they're
moving
in
forward?
Google Docs, you have viewable from Google Docs too, the link you get will get you to the Google Docs
Okay.
page. I think it's more appropriate, we want Matt to make the changes because they're in Matt's style.
Okay.
Now, one thing Matt could do, suggestion, is he could add
Matt,
it.
can you move up closer? So
Come on up, Matt.
Come on up, Matt.
Join us.
And this may be an idea, I think planning board always has some changes, and some other committees have more activity in minutes than others. But Matt could publish it to the members with commenting turned on, which means you can go and read it, make your comments, and Matt can make the adjustments based on the comment.
Okay.
The comments actually become part of the document history, not viewable by the public, because once it's been converted over to accept your changes, they're part of the version and control, but they're part, the visual is what you see as the final comment.
Okay.
So That may streamline it too, that may be a better way to do it, it's up to you, you know,
That sounds
obviously.
good to me.
Yeah.
So was there a need to do this quicker than wait till the next meeting? We could, I mean, if it's all done through email and everything, we all get it up. If we all know, hey, we had the meeting today, in 2 days, go review it, and if you have any comment, and then once all the comments are in and reconciled,
Yeah, so I think what, I guess the message here is that those minutes that Matt produces from tonight's meeting, when he publishes them, when he finishes them, when he does them live, they're live, and they'll have a draft watermark. So the public goes, look, they'll see the draft. If between now and the next meeting you have comments or you wanna make changes, you can certainly
Okay.
do that through that,
Right.
through that mechanism, or let him know. When we vote, we need to vote at the next meeting to accept those minutes.
okay.
And even, I think if we know there are changes, we wanna acknowledge those changes, right, potentially, but we're basically voting on the final draft. You know, that you can even comment, hey, I had Matt make a change, like, the wording was not right, it's changed, it's applicable today, I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
So I just think we need to get better at,
Oh, I agree.
and like I said, this is a townwide issue, this is not just a ZBA issue, this is a townwide issue. So.
No,
and-
because about a week before, I go in, see what's there, print it out, look at it. If I have time, I'll walk the site. When I always see the minutes, I could just take the same few minutes and grab the minutes and read them too, so.
Then we come to a meeting, everyone agrees, yep, passed.
Yeah, like I said, on the homepage of the portal, that link where the minutes are down there, that's the same place he writes them and stores them. And that's the same place the public will see them when they get posted, or when they're actively turned on to be able to be seen. So, if we just get in that habit, I think that'll be a
Yeah,
lot
but
better.
when it's ready, you're gonna send us a note, so we know.
Exactly.
All right, so that's perfect, yeah. I can, that's all.
Yeah, I think if you send
The
a,
minutes get shared, I send out to everyone's email, and they're alerted.
that works.
Yeah, I think that's great, and,
And I think that'll go a long way. I know that the new, Kim, the new town administrator, has been focusing on a lot of our process, especially around boards. And trying to get everybody to be consistent. And I think one of the steps in the right direction is, Matt being, unfortunately, Matt's a single person. That's a problem in itself, but Matt's been pretty good. But now the minutes, if you look at it from the ones he's doing, they look very consecutively the same.
okay.
And they're very, they're detailed, they're got the right amount of stuff in it, so, again, hopefully, for me, from the public website, it makes it a lot easier. Now, it's not me converting to a PDF and putting it up there, when he's finished, it's actually done, I don't have to worry about it, it's just there,
Okay.
so. Cool.
Well, thank you for doing all that work to the website, that's not.
Yeah,
an
when I
easy
saw
task.
those minutes, I go, oh, was I supposed to read them?
No, it's just, it's
go,
a
"Oh,
matter
man."
of catching.
I'd like to get a head start.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And I know we talked about minutes from the past that have not been approved.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, moving forward for the last like 3 or 4 months or whatever, how far back we can go from 2022 to approve some of those minutes. I mean, even going as far back as we can to approve.
My suggestion, I think that the board is somewhat consistent the last year, so it's probably easier to get those done. Most members have been sitting on those meetings, and the 2022 minutes are all the previous minute takers. We did convert them, we did get them over to Google Docs, they're in the same location, they're not Matt's format. When we asked that if there were some changes you wanna make, that Matt could go make those changes for us on our behalf.
Yep.
And then we just approve them, and remove the draft, and then let's just go forward, be better.
Absolutely. My concern is those 2022 minutes, we would have, if we're going to approve them, we'll have to take them month by month, because if people weren't here, they can't vote on them. So it's gonna be a little bit of a process just to go through, like if it was
Yeah.
you, me, and Al, and Jerry, you weren't here, then Jerry can't vote on that. So, I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of level of detail to get some of those minutes
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that'd be a great idea to
Yeah,
get them all done.
I kinda think the voting part of it may not be an issue, because, again, time has gone past, and sort of that limit is expired in some respects, and I just say, as we move forward, let's just move forward. and-
Yep, that's fine too. I mean, we
Yeah,
can leave those
you
as.
don't wanna get buried in trying to recreate the past, but there's,
Go back and
there's
watch all the-
value in it, but That happens to me all the time. I'm like, really? We're gonna go back 30 years
Well,
for
I
this?
said, every member should go watch the meetings of all of 2022, so they can participate in the approvals of the minutes. If anybody's like me, I forgot what happened yesterday, so, yeah, I just say, going forward, I think if we can make a concerted effort to, conscious effort to make sure it
Yeah,
happens.
well, I think, I think the minutes become part of the, like I said, I just incorporate it in part of the process. Okay, all right, it's not just I show up on the third, hey, I got things to do, ahead of time, and so we all do it. We all do our pre-work and just add the minutes to that. I don't think that's a big lift at all.
Cool, so I guess we have agreement, so that's fine.
Excellent. Thanks for doing all that, and thank you, Matt.
Sure.
And I do have one additional question. Looking at our bylaws
Mhm.
that were approved in 2013, there is no definition of what the secretary does. I get asked the question today, I go, I have no idea. Now, I think in the past, before we had the office helping us, the secretary was doing writing up the decisions or getting the decisions and getting them sent out to the applicants and that thing. Today, it seems like it's a little more streamlined, writing them up and they're getting to Jeff or the office and they're getting taken out. I think the secretary position probably isn't required anymore. But and again, I was surprised in the bylaws doesn't even actually outline that position. Unless I missed it. I mean, I was.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look.
I got challenged today. I went looking through it. I go, I don't see it neither. I go, I'll tell you what I think it is. What it was when I was when I originally was on this ZBA. It was really the minute taker at the time and taking all the actions. But obviously we have professionals doing minutes now. We have a back office helping us out with all the paperwork and streamlining that. I will help in one respects. That decision form, when I did it for you for I think 2 meetings, I think I was filling in for you. I think it was 2 meetings. Anyway, I know it was like a lot of them. I built the form to do it. So basically, it's a web form that you fill out. You enter save. You put your words in. Do that. And then when you submit it, it gets converted to a PDF with our letterhead, and it can go right to Jeff, or it can even go right to the applicant without going to Jeff. Jeff gets copied on it. So I don't know if you want to. I can clean it up and show it to you at the next meeting and use it and potentially use it because it seems like our decision form is similar across all the cases. It just has yay, nay, and who the vote was, and then I don't necessarily think it needs to be signed per se by the chair. I think it should record the vote, the ZBA met on this day by a vote approved or not, and that makes it a little bit more automated. And
I don't know if I should say bless you to that. Wasn't that really a sneeze?
I think it was.
Bless you. Thank you. What do I do about that?
she's trying to break my concentration. I'm not letting her do that to me. Bless you. So I don't know if there's any interest, and I'm happy to clean it up. And
Sure.
it is it's on the town engine, the town form engine we have. So, again, if it helps,
No, I mean, I'm just not tech savvy as others like yourself. But I'd be happy to.
yeah. I mean, the question will be is that means you got to use the laptop to fill it out. But this is always here. You can go online and just fill it right out before you leave the meeting. So the work is done
Right.
before the meeting's adjourned
Okay.
per spec or whatever, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so we'll try that. We'll see if that works, Jeff. And that's all I had. I think that was it, right? Yeah, that's it.
Anything else from anybody?
Nope.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have adjourned at 8:23.
All right, give me a second to turn everything off. And we